Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the season 2 of Hvorfor Norge, Why Norway, the podcast, who continues today at a very special place, the Nobel Peace Center in Oslo. And I am together now with Hemant Anjea. Thank you so much, Hemant, for being with us today.
Thank you, Cécile, for inviting me, especially to this place, and congratulations for this nice venue for your second season.
Yes, thank you so much. We have been actually invited by the Oslo Business Region as part of a puppet exhibit for podcasts contributing to peace, change-making, and impact. So we are here to talk about deep subjects, but also still with a kind of a humoristic view on it.
Thank you.
As a French person, I needed to Google who won the Nobel Peace Prize among the French individuals or organization, and it's many of them. Worth to mention that René Cassin, which is the name of the French school in Oslo, won the Peace Prize in 1968, and the NGO Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctor Without Borders, who has French origin, won it in 1999. So we are walking in the path of great names, great minds, and we are here today to talk about a bit your story and also your take about the Norwegian society. Hemant, we met because we are both part of an alumni network of French Grande École, or you actually attended INSEAD.
Yes.
But your story didn't start in France. Where are you originally from?
No, the story didn't start in France, but France has been a very, profound part of my journey.
Yes.
As an introduction, I was born in India, close to New Delhi, in a small town, small by Indian standards, obviously, pretty big by Norwegian standards.
And how many inhabitants then?
Right now, it's about 300,000 people.
Oh, that would be the top 3 of Norwegian cities.
Top 3 of Norway, yes. And back then it was much smaller, but this is not even in the top 50 in India.
Exactly.
And then I was very fortunate to have studied at some of the top universities in India. And went to live in South Korea.
Korea, okay.
Singapore, obviously India. I will not bore you with details, but I am very fortunate to have lived in 8 countries.
No, you have to tell us about that. But perhaps we'll start with the classical side of the podcast, the past control. How long have you been in Norway?
8 years.
8 years. And why would you come to Norway?
Oh, this is a very interesting question. I always tell people that the biggest talent attraction of Norway is not oil, it's not fish. It's men and women who go out 1 and come back 2. It's a joke.
But it's very relatable. I also come for
exactly,
my Norwegian
right?
partner.
So most people follow love. And I did follow love, but my love was for my daughter. So
okay.
I moved here because of my daughter, who moved here because of my ex-wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved here 7-8 years ago and immediately fell in love with the country.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Even though you had seen Singapore, you had seen Brazil, UK, US, France, what makes Norway so special in your eyes?
First of all, the nature.
Okay, yeah.
We are very fortunate. I don't think there are more than a handful of cities, if at all, where you can ski, bicycle, and do a bath in the seawater in the same town.
No, it's true. And a capital.
In the capital, right?
Yeah.
And on top of it, there are about 5 such days every year where I do all 3 on the same day. So
you bath in cold water?
I do ice bath every day in winter.
Are you one of these people that came to Norway and is more Norwegian than the Norwegians?
That's what some people say, but I actually think it's more like I'm a true Viking. I represent the country in a pure way. I had a streak of doing it every day for 2.5 years. During COVID, I did this every single day.
This is very impressive.
Thank you. But I mean, this is one part of a very happy way of starting your day.
Exactly. No, for sure. I mean, you forget the winter depression. If you have like cold water, you like suddenly everything is good.
Yeah.
Are you? The last question I was about to ask you for this past control part was the first expression you learned. Maybe it was "det finnes ikke dårlig vær, bare dårlig klær."
That's not the first one.
What's the first one you learned?
First one was Tusen takk, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah. I came to Norway first time 15 years ago. And that's also the day I fell in love with Norway because it happened to be 17th May.
Oh, cool. Wow. What a meeting with Norway. 17th of May.
17th May.
Nice weather. Everybody happy.
Everybody
outside,
happy.
Nicely dressed. Celebrating.
Absolutely. People happy. And what impressed me was that the parade was not about how many weapons they have. but about how happy kids are.
Yeah, no, the family,
The
yes.
family.
Yeah.
So that kind of touched my heart,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this is an interesting place. And then 7 years later, I moved here, 2017, and I don't think there will be any 17th May which I will not be here.
Oh, that's very
Yes.
emotional. Did you had ice cream and sausages?
Of course, you have to.
More Norwegian than
You
the
have to.
Norwegians.
Yeah.
I love it.
On Kalsjohan Gatas.
The thing is,
Yeah.
so what amazed me by the Norwegian culture is that I think Norwegians are both very patriotic, but also have a great ability to self-irony. So I've been always the one kidding a bit with the Norwegian culture because I felt like Norwegians think it's entertaining to hear outtakes about their society seen from outside. However, on the 17th of May, I feel so deeply touched in my heart. Like even like this corpse music, which is a little bit annoying, could make me cry, you know. I'm getting so touched by everything that Norway can do for us and all the good values they are bringing to the next generation, including all of the kids behind one flag, is a very strong thing to do.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, many countries, for a lot of reasons, could not exactly manage the same. So it's an interesting first meeting with Norway.
Yes.
What a first date with Norway. Of course you fell in love then.
Yeah. And it was, in a way, destiny after that.
Yeah.
So my daughter moved to, my daughter was not even born yet when I
Yeah.
visited first time. It was with my ex-wife.
Yeah.
So I was visiting Norway.
How old is she now?
My daughter,
Yes.
she is 14.
And is she a happy kid growing up in Norway?
Absolutely.
Yes.
She is a Norwegian water snob. So whenever we travel outside, we have to find the best tasting water because the water from Norway is one of the best, as you can imagine. So that's one of our exercises whenever we travel outside, like which bottled water we need to buy so that the water snobs in the family are happy.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
Though. However, it's true. I mean, when I come back to Paris, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
did I drink that tap water before? Bleh.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. You have a very impressive also track record in terms of business, and that's in a way how we met through the kind of the business world. How was it to work with Norwegians? I mean, and especially after being lived in so many different countries, what did you like? What were the challenges for you? What are your takes on this?
Wow, you have gone straight into a difficult question. But that's fine. I think overall it has been very positive. I really appreciate the straightforwardness of people in Norway.
Straightforward, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are very committed to their words. Okay, if they promise that they will do something, then you can assume that it will be done. So you don't have to follow up back and forth, unlike in many other countries.
And as an example, do you have lived in other countries where that would not be the case?
Oh yeah, France, India, USA even. People promise, but they don't deliver. But over here, if they promise, they will deliver. The difficult part is to get them to promise.
Yes.
But that's a different thing.
Yeah.
And then what I like even more is that if they cannot deliver, they will tell it straight to your face. So in terms of expectation management, that's a very good sign.
Yeah, and kind of trust building,
right?
Transparent.
So, yeah, exactly. So you don't have a bad surprise.
Yeah.
Right. So in business, I think most of the people I have reported to my bosses, none of them wanted to have a bad surprise. Right. So this is very important. Highly competent people. You can assume that everybody speaks good English. They have studied at some of the very good universities. They like to go deep into the subject. They don't boast around if they don't know about something. So those are definitely some of the positive things about working in Norway.
And what about the challenges?
The challenges are a couple of them are on the social side. So it's very difficult to get to know people.
Yeah, you think so?
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one.
No, for sure. Even
Yeah.
it's interesting because someone like you has traveled, has been infused by different cultures. He's quite of a high intelligence on the social part. You still think it's struggling? That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of my friend circle here, I have quite a few international friends. But if I count the Norwegian friends, they are the same 3 people who I used to have before I moved to Norway.
Yeah.
So 8 years.
No new friend.
No new Norwegian friend.
And I think because a lot of people listen to us, and especially this episode will be in English, so it might be even a better reach to people that just arrived in Norway.
Yeah.
Do you have any hack or any reco to try to crack that pattern? I recognize myself in it, so I'm not more clever than that.
Very good point. I think I would probably give the same advice that has been given many times. It's a question of how do you execute it. So first and foremost, learn the language.
Yes.
And I have been at fault, even though I'm a Norwegian citizen. I did my B1, B2 courses, but I don't speak fluently enough. And I'm a bit hesitant to make fool of myself, which is quite funny, which I used to do a lot, but not anymore. So I probably should just let it go and speak Norwegian more often. That's number one. Number two, learn local sports. So in terms of skiing, so for example, I do a lot of langrenn, and that's my way of connecting with nature, but also my way of creating discussion points with Norwegian people, right? And third is join some activity where you are meeting the same people regularly, and that's something that I have not done, and I wish in hindsight I had done that,
because that's the way. That's the time will create a pattern that makes it safe to get to know you.
Yes. So some associations I can recommend are DNT, for example. They create a lot of tours. You have walking tours in the city. During COVID, there was even a community of people who were doing ice bath every day. So I met a bunch of people from there as well. But you have to invest a lot of time into that circle.
Yeah.
So those three things. But the language is the number one.
Yeah.
I think for me, I studied the other way around. I did langrenn first, and language second.
But how many languages do you speak?
In a good way, 3.
Which are?
English, Hindi, and Punjabi.
Yeah.
But I do have a certain grasp of Norwegian, Spanish, and French.
And French, yes.
Yeah, of course. And at one point, I used to speak Korean and Portuguese, but obviously I've forgotten all of that.
It's interesting that you don't want to make fool of yourself in Norwegian, because I'm sure you would speak better Norwegian than...
Parce que j'ai oublié tout.
Parce que j'ai oublié tout. So going back to this business aspect, because your case is very interesting. You've lived in so many countries. Do you think you get infused by each of the culture of the countries you lived in? UK, US, Brazil, France, very different stories each time. Did you become a chameleon, able to change a little bit your color to adapt? Or are you, on the contrary, kind of someone who stayed completely true to yourself, but just a little bit richer or a little bit more clever each time? How does it work?
I will give a very standard management answer. It depends. That aside, it goes both ways.
Yes.
I think the important thing is, as you said, you should stay to your core, which I am. I am still very outspoken. Sometimes it works in my favor. Sometimes it does not. I still carry a sense of responsibility towards environment, towards humanity, the core values that I inherited from my parents and from India. But then I have taken some of other things from other countries, politeness from the UK, for example. Difficult for me to work because I'm very straightforward. But then that straightforwardness works very well in Norway, right? Because you are expected to be straightforward. You're not expected to be going around the bush, right? And then there are some things that I would say that it's essentially rounding the edges, so to say, which is where having lived in many countries helps. So, but you have to have your core, otherwise it becomes a spaghetti and you don't know where you are from. That's not the case with me. I strongly identify as an Indian and as a Norwegian. Those two countries are my top countries by far.
I get a little bit of, I think it's emotional because in a way it also says that our identity is in constant evolution. Absolutely. We learn also during life, and perhaps neither you nor I woke up one day thinking, when I be big, I'll move to Norway. Who knows? But we also get colored by the places we live and influenced and also richer. But sometimes I feel also a little bit lost in translation. You can also feel somehow a foreigner in your own country, on your own culture. Did that happen to you?
Absolutely, and that's what I said when I said it. It cuts both ways.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And there is plenty of research which says that reverse culture shock is more profound than the culture shock of moving to a new country. I.e., if you have lived in a country and you go somewhere else for several years and come back, you will have more shock than the shock that you would have got when you go to a new country. So when I moved back to India for a short period of 6-7 months, it was absolutely horrifying for me.
Was it painful?
It was painful.
So where is home now?
Home is Norway.
It is,
Yep.
yes. So when you land in Gardermoen, do you run to the tax-free and buy a lot of alcohol
Absolutely.
to feel like a true Norwegian?
Yes, 4 bottles every time.
Okay, you are like pest control, double checked, triple checked.
Yes, more Norwegian than the Norwegians.
Hemant, I would like you to give us a little bit of advice also in terms of building a career in Norway. The original idea of the podcast was after hearing so many foreigners, highly qualified sometimes, but struggling to find their path into the work market in Norway. I know that you work in tech. You have a very impressive track record behind you. What would be your advice in terms of searching for job? So I understand that you have also texts regarding how to make friends, but this time regarding the job search and also the network building that might be a good enabler in a small market where people tend to know each other from before. What would be your recommendation for people listening to us and perhaps thinking, am I going to find a job I'm qualified for? Is it going to work?
Yeah, so that's the flip side of Norway in some ways. It's a bit of a challenge to not only find job, and I would not be able to sleep if I don't put this out as well. There is another aspect which I don't like, which is that the room is very crowded at the top with only Norwegians. So first of all, it's very difficult to find a job in Norway for a foreigner. And second, even if you have found one, it's very difficult to get to the top because there is this inner circle kind of thing going on. And Norway, in some ways, reminded me of my time in South Korea and Brazil, where you could live and work and do extremely well, but there is always a glass ceiling. And I don't want to name names, but this company I worked with, 10% of the company workforce is management, so managers, and the absolutely every single one of them is Norwegian. So that's the difference. But back to the point, how do you circumvent that? How do you navigate through that? First is to put the impact and effort, right? So put the effort, get the impact. And when it comes to the new people coming in and finding a job, I think there are, and I fully sympathize, it's extremely difficult to find a job in Norway unless you know the language, and then that's a catch-22, right? You can't really expect to learn the language unless you are living here, and you can't live here unless you're earning, and you can't earn unless you know the language, right?
Exactly, and the classical barriers would be obviously language, as you mentioned, but also sometimes it's the fact that the degree is not recognized or approved by the state, and also sometimes you've studied somewhere, but none of the HR recruiters in Norway have heard about this or that university. So sometimes it's also in terms of awareness regarding what's your background, that also is a barrier to join that. And also we know that half of the jobs in Norway are not published online. So it tells a bit about the network effect you mentioned.
Absolutely. So I was fortunate both the times that I got job in a startup called Gelato and now Microsoft were through my INSEAD network. But I know probably not everybody is that fortunate, obviously. But some of the learnings that I can share, number one is your alumni network or alma mater. Please be in touch with them. If there is anybody from living in Norway from your school or university or college, get in touch. Sometimes that's not possible, then you should try to get in touch with other people from similar universities in your country. So if there is, let's say, nobody that you know from INSEAD or HEC, or you're not gone to INSEAD or HEC, you might know somebody who has gone to INSEAD or HEC or Sciences Po or ESSEC, right? That's the second channel. And third channel is back to what we discussed in the beginning, that if you are able to get your way in on the social side, volunteering or doing some activity, but it has to be repeated, right? So you have to create that trust. Sometimes the leads for jobs come through that social channel as well. Surprise, surprise, but it happens. I have known people who have got
you have examples?
Yes, I have an example, like somebody who got their first job through a hiking group.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it happens. It's obviously we cannot call it a rule, but it does happen.
But are you optimistic that this might change in the future? Because if you look at the figures many, or actually the large majority of leaders in Norway, business leaders, do say that they value diversity, inclusion highly. However, they're not measured on it. They don't have any KPIs on it. There is no concretely goals to achieve. Hence, it becomes a nice to have and not a must. But still, I mean, the wind is blowing towards, I would say, a very encouraging direction in that case. Plus, the regulation in Norway are quite strict. On the other side, the wind blowing from the US makes it sometimes easier to squeeze all of this DEI from the strategic roadmap of organizations and enterprises. This podcast here is about making an impact and a change for the society. What is your take on it? What do you observe? In what direction does it go?
I think when it comes to big companies, you're right that the DEI initiatives have been pulled back a bit. But at the same time, the talent war also is intensifying, right? There are more people who have heard of Norway. So, for example, I know that now there are more students from India studying in Norway for their master's or PhD than 20 years ago. So, and for them, it's quite natural to then stay in Norway, right? That's probably not the case. That was not the case 25 years ago, 20 years ago, even 15 years ago. But it's changing, right? DI initiatives have been cut, but at the same time, there is a lot of demand and there's a lot of supply of international talent.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people are already here.
Exactly. So things are changing. They are changing a bit slower than we want, obviously, but they are changing and it's a positive trend.
And so you've been led by Norwegians, you've lead Norwegian teams. How is it with your Indian and international background to lead Norwegian? What are the do's and don'ts you would give to a new manager coming from abroad?
I actually feel that I am more Norwegian now than I'm Indian in that aspect, but there are a couple of things. At a holistic level, Indians are resource optimizers.
Okay.
You know, we grew up mostly in poverty, right? So we learned how to optimize the resource to its max. I'll give you a very crude example. You know, a nice cloth which is used in a wedding becomes your day-to-day wearing cloth. 6 months later, a year later, it becomes a cloth for cleaning the kitchen. A year or two later, it becomes a cloth for cleaning the floor. So that's the evolution of recycling, right? We're talking. And I don't think most of the Norwegians have been through that cycle, at least not in the last 3 generations, right? So Indians are by nature resource optimizers. I have to step back very often from that tendency to be resource optimizer, and I have to trust the team members to do what they think is optimal for them, not what is optimal for
in your view,
in my view, right? So I have to often step back, and then, as I mentioned in the very first time, you know, if they say that it's not possible, or if it's not able, they are not able to reach the deadline by this date, then I know that I can trust it and I can respect it. I don't have to unfairly push back.
But then if we build back on what you just said, if you manage to have anyway trust and transparency, that does work.
That works, yes, absolutely. And I think the biggest I would say help that anybody can get in their career in Norway is to build that trust and transparency as soon as they come into Norway.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a journey. I remember my first boss told me, you have to talk to me as if I were your friend, my first Norwegian boss. And I thought, this is a very hard task to ask for a French person. Because as a French person, I was thinking, tell the boss what he wants to hear, not the truth. No, everything is under control. And if not, put it under the table. And get a bit scared of this hierarchical kind of authoritarian approach to leadership, which is very not Norwegian.
Yeah, it's not exactly that black and white in my experience.
No, of course.
There is still some gray. Yeah, I totally get
binary, but
some people do love their Kool-Aid even now, which I find very ironical living in Norway. But yeah, in general, you are right. The country is not hierarchical. It's very flat. So as a result, you can go to your manager in a very straightforward manner. I would not call it a friendship, but you can definitely be straightforward.
With a friendly tone.
Yes, with a friendly tone. Yes, absolutely.
The elements of languages are not very different if you speak to your boss or your teams or your friend or your mother in Norway.
Absolutely.
It would be very different in France.
Very different in France. Yeah, you don't need to use vous and tu.
No.
You know, you can use do everywhere.
Plus all the wording and the way of behaving and so on.
Yeah.
You work with tech and data. Can we jump in a bit of that topic? I'm not a tech expert, but I think it's passionating.
Sure, depends upon the question, but yeah.
So, what is the approach in the Nordics regarding tech and technology and innovation compared to other country you've lived in?
I mean, first and foremost, this is one of the most advanced countries in the world when it comes to digital adoption. I am not aware of any country where something like bank ID is so prevalent.
My stand-up comedian head now is laughing a bit because bank ID is great if you're inside of it. Otherwise, when you're a foreigner and you arrive in this, it feels like the Matrix.
Yes, I have been through that hell, or trinity of hell, as I call it. To get bank ID, you need a bank account. To get a bank account, you need a personal number. To get a personal number, you need an address. But to get an address, you need a bank account. All right. I spent 3 months on it, which some people say was fast.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
But it's either you're in and it's very sweet. I agree with you. Yeah. This digital world is very convenient. But if you're out, it's like the Matrix. You're not in it. And good luck with that.
Yeah. I am still.
How did you solve it?
I'm
the 3 months.
So I'm very grateful to my ex-colleague Sanju.
Sanju, if you listen to us.
Sanju, if you listen to us. Still thankful to you. He was paying money on my behalf to everybody I bought anything from on Fin for 3 months. I was using my Singapore credit card to pay for other stuff, but when it came to VipSync, I had no control, right? So he was helping me. 3 months later, when I got my first salary, which was a pretty decent amount, Sanju got a big bonus. The tab, the so-called Sanju Hemant tab was running into tens of thousands of kroners. Yeah. And by the way, to get this, I had to write I would not call it threatening, but I had to write a very dissatisfactory email to one of the ministers. And the crux of the email was that if this is the way you attract talent, good luck.
You know what? It's interesting that you say so, because during the first season, we got two super engaged contributors at the Oslo Kommune. They have been working on a fast track to get the D number for foreigners to retain talents, because exactly what you just said. A lot of companies search for talents. Some of them are already here. However, we just somehow don't manage to bridge that gap. And they managed on the pilot project. It took 3 days. It was on 10 individuals from different parts of the world, but it's super encouraging that it might in the future get quicker and quicker to integrate.
Yeah, I think everybody will be happy with 1 week. I mean, for 3 days, I will pay money.
Yeah.
I would pay that service 1,000 kroner
just to make it
to make it in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
Because everything is so integrated, right?
Yeah.
So back to the point in terms of technology, right? So in Norway, everything is digital. We don't use cash. Everybody pays by Vips or credit card, which is amazing. But the challenge here is that people think of only Norway when they are starting developing a product. Which later on becomes an issue, because then scaling internationally is a challenge.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas if you are developing this in USA or India, you are starting with a premise of it being a global product, or at least a big enough market product right from the beginning.
Interesting. So you said that Norway is a very highly advanced digital country, but how do you see Norwegians working with digital innovations and technologies?
So they are very well versed with technology. As a result, it's very easy, or relatively easy, to start something new, launch a product. But as the bank ID example shows, most of the times the product design is catered to Norwegian market only, which is a big difference from somebody designing a product in USA or Singapore or India or Korea, the 4 countries that I have spent most of my time, or UK actually. Over here, the product is designed with a Norwegian market standpoint, which works perfectly well in Norway,
But of course, it's hard
But-
to scale.
Exactly. But when you want to scale it internationally, it becomes harder.
And why do you think it's the case?
I'm gonna make a joke. It's a village.
Yeah.
So we in Norway, and I'm counting myself as we now as a Norwegian. We in Norway think of Norway as a small Viking village. So we think of us as the center of the world or universe. Unfortunately, so, and that's not true at all. But that's how we think. So when we design anything, it comes with that premise, and then 2 years later, oh shoot, we did not think of that.
Exactly.
Right? And I have mentored a bunch of companies. They do the same problem, and then even when they are scaling outside,
Sorry.
it always starts with Sweden and Denmark.
Yeah, it's true. That's Nordics.
And I'm like, why don't you have an ambition of going to a market fit where it would be Italy or Spain or France? I was mentoring a small startup about art, and sensors for a company, and I was like, why do you want to go to Sweden or Denmark? It doesn't make any sense. Why don't you go straight to Italy or France? And he was like, yeah, but the board does not like it that way.
Yeah, I
And
think
I'm like,
obviously they feel closer to the Swedish or Danish way of doing things culturally and also geographically. But obviously, the business case is much
bigger
small.
outside.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the big pockets of populations are outside.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've heard in a panel debate a few months ago that few Norwegian brands actually are big outside. The consumer brands are big outside Norway, and that actually bounced back a little bit to just what you just said. Most of them are conceived for the Norwegian market and the Norwegian consumers, and then get hard to scale up.
Yeah,
when it's time.
and there is one more reason, by the way, and this is the way Norwegian market is. The average income in Norway is quite high. So as a result, your average revenue per user, ARPU metrics that you use, is quite high in Norway. And when you are scaling outside, that falls down because you have to serve the big numbers to
So
get
you have
the
to
same
scale
revenue.
in Switzerland and Dubai.
Exactly. That's one way to do it. So as a result, some entrepreneurs get a bit surprised. So because the numbers of users and revenue does not tail, right? So there are a couple of factors, but I think the biggest factor is this mentality of being a Viking village, and starting with that.
We are two Vikings agreeing with that.
Yeah.
That's nice. The tech ecosystem in the Nordics differs from more traditional tech hubs from India or USA. Can you take a little bit tell us also a little bit about that?
Yes. So one is this aspect of designing the product. So when you design a product in Norway, it's coming from a bottom-up approach of first Norwegian market, then Nordics, then global. If you were to develop this product, let's say in India or UK or USA or Singapore, the 4 countries I've spent a lot of time, it would be designed with a mind on global. So that's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Right. It goes. I mean, of course, there are benefits of both sides. There are pros and cons of either of the two approaches. But there is a reason why Norwegian companies struggle to scale. Right. So that's one. Second is about the internationalization strategy itself. Right. Norwegian companies are far too risk averse.
Interesting.
Yeah. They are very risk averse when it comes to doing something in a different way. And it's getting better now. There are some examples, where there is a lot of senior management which is not Norwegian, but even so, most of it is American. So, the lens they have is for USA, which makes sense. I mean, at least in the tech world. But the risk averseness is one aspect which stops companies from succeeding outside.
Hemant, we are now approaching the end of this podcast. We've understood that you became somehow more Norwegians than Norwegian, biking and bathing in the sea all year round. I need to hear a little bit more about your Norwegian experience in a playful way. What is the strangest thing you have tasted in Norway?
Oh, in Norway, lefsa.
Lefsa.
With the very extremely highly fermented fish. Yeah, I tried it in COVID, and my apartment smelled for like 2 days.
You did try it at home?
Yes.
This is brave.
Yeah, I made it myself from scratch, and that was hell for 2 days.
Your best recommendation for discovering Norwegian nature?
Take a membership of DNT. Simple.
Okay, wow, cool. You've been a lot of DNT Hytter and DNT
Yeah, they
tour.
have 500 something cabins. 30 of them are just outside of Oslo. I have been to a fair few of them. Yes.
That's nice. Your favorite Norwegian expression?
Oh, that's easy. Ikke dårlig var, bare dårlig klar.
Your favorite Norwegian celebration?
17th May.
Oh, of course, with the ice and the sausages and the happy kids.
Yes.
Last but not least, a Norwegian celebrity or someone that who is famous in a way that you admire or like.
Celebrity. So I have never been a fan of this royal mania that happens in UK, for example. But whatever I've heard of, Prince Haakon here is very positive.
Yeah, he seems to be a nice guy.
He is so humble. He is so sporty. And the funny part is that actually, once I saw him skiing in Krokskogen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you pass by him and told him, Håkon?
No, unfortunately, he passed by me so fast that by the time I could recognize him, he was already gone. I mean, I was learning in those days, okay, so I was very slow and he was extremely fast. Yeah.
That's very cool. Hemant, thank you so much. Tusen takk. To bounce back on your first expression.
Bare hyggelig. I wish you all the luck in your podcast.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you for inviting me at this very awesome, nice place.
Thank you likewise. Ha det bra.